I'm just going to try, if I can, to pick up 1 or 2 points that have been said and try to give you a bit of a local perspective. I think what, you hear Dominic talk about the politicians and the political side, and I did bring along today, I was given today, a symbolic carrot. The gentleman from the Green Party who asked me where Rebecca Pow was, had she been here, this would have been awarded to her. The symbolism of the carrot is quite simple. When John Bourne produced his report from the randomised badger culling trial, and Dominic and both Mark have alluded to that, and said what John Bourne delivered in terms of what effect the RBCT had achieved and what could be achieved by killing badgers, and said there's no point in basically doing that. At that point in time, the then Minister for Agriculture said, well, we've got to give the NFU a carrot, John. Let's give them killing badgers, that's the carrot. So that's the symbol of killing badgers. Had Rebecca Pow been here, she would have been awarded this carrot as a representative of the Conservative Party. It will be the intention of Somerset Against the Cull, the Badger Patrols, to award this carrot as time goes by to where we see fit. So if ever you see this carrot appearing, you know it's for somebody who's not on our side. You know it's for somebody who works and operates within the government that doesn't just tell mistruths, they tell downright lies. There's no doubt about that. They lie about the science because they ignore it. They lie about the independent panel by disbanding it. They don't test badgers to see whether they're positive or whether or not, or potentially positive or whether or not. We've got a government that doesn't care about wildlife. I sent a note out to all my friends and colleagues on the day after the last election, and I said to them, this is a black day. It's a black day for badgers. It's a black day for foxes. It's a black day for hen harriers. It's a black day for buzzards. It's a black day for bees. It's a black day for people who don't believe in climate change. But this is the government we got. But what I did say, after getting them all down into the dumps, was that we have got a silver lining. And the silver lining is here today for you all to see. It's the people who are putting ourselves out. It's the people who are going out to do the patrols. If they can't go patrolling, they support by funding, or they support by contacting MPs or other people in media and trying to get across the message. The message that has to be based in the truth, not in lies, not in mistruths, not in misinformation, but based in the truth. And so you must make sure that when you are making comments to the media, that you do have the evidence to support what you're saying. That's the first thing. I'd like to say as well, Mark mentioned about cage trapping badgers being supposedly a humane way. I know when the RBCT was being done, I saw reports, and one of the people that was doing monitoring was a friend of mine. He's like me, he was a consultant, ecological consultant, and he was telling me that even when they were shooting badgers in traps with 2.2 pistols, they shot them quite often more than once. They shot them sometimes twice, maybe even 3 times. Those of you that heard me speak before at marches heard me recall the plight of one badger that was shot 5 times during the Cull. That badger took over nearly half an hour to die. That's what we talk about when we talk about humane. But how can you actually measure humaneness? By saying, providing it dies within 5 minutes, it's humane. That's not humane. An animal lying there dying for 5 minutes is not humane. But that's the measurement the government put on. To say it's like shooting other animals is an absolute utter nonsense, because it's not like shooting other animals. It's not that way at all. It's not that easy. And if you've got a badger in a cage trap, and I said I would mention the Somerset Badger Group initiative to vaccinate badgers, we've been operating for 4 years now. We operate on farms in the Cull area. And these are farmers that have thought about the situation, they've looked at what the options were, and they basically had 3 options. They go with the Cull, they do nothing, or they vaccinate the badgers. That's the 3 actions they could take. And we've got farmers that came to us, like I say, we're in our 4th year with them now, and we vaccinate the badgers, and we catch them in cage traps in exactly the same way as the shooters catch them in cage traps. We vaccinate and release them, they shoot them. But the reality of the cost, and then Dominic alluded to the cost, and how expensive it's been, but the reality of the cost is that if you actually dispose of a carcass in the most appropriate and proper way, and I hope Mark would support me when I say this, but if you actually deal with it in the most appropriate way, it will cost you more than the cost of a vaccine. So what's the point in shooting them? That's not, if they catch them, we'll vaccinate them for nothing. we'll pay for it ourselves. So we've got a daft situation, a ludicrous situation that we find ourselves in. And the only way we can make any changes to that happening, we don't have the influence that the NFU have. We don't have the influence that the landlord associations have. We don't have the influence of some of the MPs have. But we have people power. And Dominic made that point very early on, and at the end of his speech saying that the Badger Army will march on. The Badger Army will march on. The patrols will continue. The lobbying will continue. People like me who've been fighting this case for nearly 30 years will go on fighting. We will not give in. We will not stop. Thank you all very much for coming and listening to us.